celebrating the art of storytelling and the artists who bring stories to life. This is the Viewfinder Podcast with Chris Hadley.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Hadley, and welcome once again to the Viewfinder Podcast, and welcome to our guest on this week's show, the lovely, brilliant, talented, amazing actor Azizi Donnelly. Azizi, welcome. It is great to have you on.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. It's great to be here.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Now, you started your career as a model before you became an actor. How, if at all, did modeling not only prepare you for acting, but also the performance aspect of the craft, the business side of it, and the difficulties, both personal and professional, that come inevitably with creating and then sustaining a successful career in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I thought about that, and I think that the one, being comfortable in front of the camera, there's a similarity there between modeling and acting, and being confident just expressing yourself and sort of being vulnerable in front of a camera, in front of people, transferred over for me. And also being comfortable with not being right for everything, that element of, I guess, rejection that comes with the modeling industry and when you're building a career in the acting industry. So it definitely prepared me for that, I think, in a really positive way.
How did you get into acting, and what and or who motivated your decision to go from modeling to acting?
I always wanted to act, even since I was a kid. I always say this, I didn't know that you could do acting as a career, like coming from Australia, from a Lebanese immigrant family. I never saw that as like a real job. So for me, I left Australia when I was 18 and came to America. But I just came to America to pursue something bigger. I didn't know what it was going to be, actually. And then I got, I was modeling for a little bit, and I got an audition accidentally, which like never happens. And that audition was the thing that re-sparked my interest and my love for acting. And I sort of threw myself into that world then. Yeah.
What actors and their performances inspired you to become an actor?
Ooh, when I first started, I would say Jim Carrey. He was always, someone who inspired me. I just love how he's so beyond original, and he just does himself, and he literally paved a whole new way of comedy. And I thought, he always brought so much joy. And then on the other spectrum, I loved Angelina Jolie, which I feel like most young women love her now still, just because she's not only is she obviously gorgeous, but she was never afraid to play the sort of messier and, for lack of a better word, like uglier characters, and I loved that about her. She wasn't defined just by what she looked like on the outside, and just so raw and vulnerable and passionate and beautiful. So they'd be my top two, I'd say.
Yeah. In terms of acting, what was your training like, and how did that help to develop your skills?
My training. I didn't do I didn't go to drama school or have any professional training in that sense, but I have tried so many different acting classes and schools here in Los Angeles. I auditioned for Juilliard once. I was like, I'm going to go to Juilliard at the age of like 26. And I remember getting a call back, and I was like, okay, life mission, fulfilled. I don't need to actually go to school. So I think for me, honestly, of course, training with coaches and being lucky enough to learn on the job, right, has been incredible. Trying different classes, and honestly, life. I know that sounds cheesy, but if you are curious as a person and always looking at people and things and learning from your own life, I think that's the best teacher for art, truly.
What was your first role? What character did you play, and what was your experience like on that project?
My very first role, oh God, I'm trying to think. My very, very first role, like professionally, was an indie film called Elvis. It had nothing to do with Elvis the singer, but it was a really, yeah, it was a really cool black and white sort of Western, actually. That was my first proper feature film here in America. And that was a wild ride that made me fall in love with filmmaking even more.
Another short that you did was one that you produced and co-wrote in 2020 called Tin Foil, which was a true-to-life story of a sex worker, which you played, facing not just the indignities of that job, but also an addiction problem. What inspired this film? How did you balance your on-camera duties with that of your work writing and producing it? And what did you do to make not just your character realistic, but also the other characters realistic and the story realistic in its portrayal of sex workers and their struggles?
Yeah, I so that story came with my co-writer at the time from a real life story that was close to me. And we wrote it, I think it was in the pandemic. We wrote it and we made it um because of, how there was someone in my life that this story was very prevalent to them, and it inspired me. And I also think that not a lot of times is that sort of story told so honestly and in such a raw way. I think it can be a little bit glamorized in the film and TV world, and there's good and bad to everything. But for me, it was really important to tell the story of somebody who was struggling and sort of felt like they didn't have any other option but to do that. And then the effects that it can have on not only the individual, but the relationship. Like, this girl was in a relationship while having to do that, and her boyfriend had to accept that because they both felt like they didn't really have a choice. So I thought that was really interesting, and something that's very real.
2 years later, you co-starred in the award-winning short film Contrariety about a man played by Sebastiano Pagazzi, who wrote and executive produced the film, attempting to find his own way in the world, but whose susceptibility to abuse risks costing him his freedom and his life.
Mhm.
Tell me about the character you played in that film and what it was like being such a part of such an acclaimed picture.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was, again, in my very early days, and one of the first projects I did. And Sebastian is a really good friend of mine, actually. And I played a character. It was a sort of a smaller role in that, but that was just a fun experience. Again, early on in my career, and I was just so excited to be on set and to be learning and to be part of something bigger. So for me, that's what that experience was, and it was really cool to see the film do really well, in the film festival circuit. Yeah.
Also in 2023, you appeared in Oscar-winning director Damien Chazelle's Hollywood epic Babylon, though in an uncredited role. Who did
Mhm.
you play? How did you get that part? And what did you learn about not just the business, but also the demands of playing in a major motion picture?
Yeah. Oh man, that honestly was one of my favorite film. It, like, even though it was an uncredited role, my probably favorite experience that I've ever had so far in the industry. I'm like waiting for something to top that. It was just so magical, right? Like, you could tell that Damien was so passionate and so involved, even though it was such a big production. And some days there were like 200 people on set, which was wild. And everyone's in their 1920s costumes, and the music, and like, it was just such an incredible thing to be a part of. And again, very early in my acting days. I don't know if does that answer your question? I kind of
Well,
got
that
lost.
yes, it does. It does perfectly. And
It's
yes,
amazing.
and you got a chance briefly to meet with Margot Robbie on the set of that film.
Yeah, briefly, and she was very sweet and kind, and exactly how I had hoped she would be in real life. Yeah, really cool.
In 2024, your first featured role came in the Australian TV miniseries Ladies in Black, where you co-starred alongside the legendary Debbie Mazar as a would-be fashion designer who's paying her dues as part of the staff of a department store in the 1960s. What was the experience of making the show in your native Australia like? How did you prepare for that role? And how, if at all, did acting in that series prepare you for the roles that followed?
Ooh, that's a great question. How I prepared for that role, one of, again, my first lead in a TV show. So I had never dealt with learning, not only 100 pages for a movie, but like that times six for 6 episodes. So that was really an interesting challenge. And for me, it was rehearsing with people that I trust, with coaches, and really just talking with the director and, yeah, really getting familiar with the world. Again, it was another period piece, which was really cool. So it was important for me to understand the time that it was set in. And actually, my grandmother was the same age as my character in Sydney, as what she lived that life basically that I was playing in the role, which was such a weird, beautiful synchronicity. Um, but yeah, working with people like Debbie, I learned so much from. She's hilarious and amazing and talented and just,
Yes.
yeah, really cool. So it was a great experience.
And this year you reunited with Pegazi on his stage play When the Water Dies, a
Mhm.
drama about two culturally and socially different families whose differences make for a turbulent and painful Thanksgiving. What was it like working with him again on this? What character did you play in it, and how, if at all, did you personally identify with the character?
Yeah, so again, it's been cool to be able to work with a friend, again, and this was his theater directorial debut, and he wrote it. And I played, again, I keep playing all these period pieces. I played a Southern girl in the 1950s. So um, very different role, but super fun to play. And, got to like, the cool thing about theater, I think, is you really get to transform, I think like I got to wear a wig and have a costume that felt very far away from me, and really helped me dive into that character and the real innocence and naivety that her and her family were living in that time.
How did performing on stage in that play not only challenge you as an actor, but also help you to develop your skills and preparation for live theater?
Ooh. That every night is different and you never don't get nervous. Every night before we went on, it was like nerves. And as soon as you start, the nerves go away. And also that the beauty is you feel the energy of the audience, but then you also can't let that affect you. If like it's not going as well as you had hoped, it's a really interesting thing, because it's live. But to me, that's the thrill of it. And how much preparation goes into theater. I have a lot of respect for theater, more so now. Yeah.
As far as preparation and performance is concerned, are there any differences you find between doing an on-camera role and a stage role, and what similarities are there between the two?
Yeah, I do find a difference in terms of I mean, you should be using your body for everything, but you're involved, from head to toe in theater. Nothing's hidden. You really have to get comfortable in the space. And I think it's a beautiful thing how much rehearsal and prep goes into theater. I wish there was more rehearsal and prep at TV and film, more so TV. They just move so quickly. You don't get the time to like live in a role and experience and try different things. And so um, I think what I would take from theater and use for film and TV is taking my own time to prepare like it's theater, even though the industry might not give you as much time for film and TV. Yeah.
You recently did a virtual table read on Zoom for the full-length version of screenwriter Levi Alexander's coming-of-age drama Miriam, about a young Jewish girl whose love of skateboarding and her rabbis giving her a bat mitzvah divides her traditionalist family. You played her mother alongside an esteemed cast, including Justin Kirk, who plays her father, and an equally outstanding group of newcomers. Since Miriam was adapted from the short film of the same name, did you watch that film to prepare for the read? What qualities did you bring to the character, and what was it like working with the other actors on the read?
Yeah, I did watch the short film and I thought it was amazing. I can't wait to see the feature film
Yeah,
whenever that gets made. I think you're probably excited as well.
I am.
Yeah. But it's funny. That was a beautiful thing to be a part of. It came to get, I was introduced to the mix kind of last minute. So I watched a short film. I obviously read the script, thought it was incredible. The cast, as you mentioned, were phenomenal. But I wanted to bring to the character, obviously she was a little older than me. And at first I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And, playing, there was a lot about her that I kind of intimidated me, but the writing was so good, the story was so beautiful, and I just wanted to bring an accepting, nurturing, but strong woman who I think it's really beautiful that she can be both. She can be strong, she can be sort of bend the rules and pave a new way, but she can also be nurturing and soft and feminine all at the same time.
Those qualities definitely came through in your performance of the role.
Oh, thank you.
Two of your next projects include an upcoming action comedy for Warner Brothers where you play a villainous femme fatale, and another film that you recently completed called Fifth and a Friend, where you portray a detective. Are there any details you can share about those and the characters you play in those?
Yeah. So the Warner Brothers film should be out Christmas this year. It's a comedy, holiday action movie with Andrew Koji and Madeline and Violet McGrath. So that one should be really fun, and it'll be in streaming, and it might be in theaters as well. So waiting to hear exact details. And then Fifth and a Friend will also it's a psychological thriller. And I had never played a detective before. So that was a cool experience. And the cast on that is amazing. And the story is really, really cool and really makes you think. So that should be out on streaming at the end of the year as well, which I'm excited for.
Great.
Mhm.
And finally, what have you taken away from your years so far as an actor and a filmmaker? And what advice do you have for those starting out of the industry and or those who want to become actors and filmmakers?
Okay, that's a great question. Um, they would be like combined for me. What I've taken away is what I would like to give as advice is if you know in your heart and your body that you're supposed to be an artist, a creative, an actor, to really trust that. And I know it's again cheesy, but never give up and really just work on your energy, like work on your self-worth, work on your self-belief, work on your subconscious beliefs, and trust your vision for yourself, for the roles that you get and you want to do, because nobody's going to work harder for you than yourself, even when you have amazing support around you. And just keep doing the next thing that shows up and the next thing, and trust
Yeah,
the unfolding of it. I think that's kind of my best advice. Yeah, I hope that made sense.
it definitely does. And that's the perfect way to end the podcast today. Azizi, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much again for coming on and taking the time to chat with me today about this incredible body of work you've got so far and all the great work that you've got going on. And it was truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, and I appreciate yours as well. Azizi Donnelly. That's the Viewfinder Podcast for this week. I'm Chris Hadley. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, please stay safe, everyone.
The Viewfinder Podcast is hosted, written, produced, and edited by Chris Hadley. The show's title logo is designed by Matison LeBlanc. Be sure to like, listen, and subscribe to the Viewfinder Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out video versions of the show on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Viewfinder Podcast with Chris H., all one word. Let us know what you think by leaving a review on this or any other episode. If you have any questions, comments, and or guest suggestions, or if you'd like to join Chris as a guest on an upcoming episode of the show, please contact us at theviewfinderpodcast@gmail.com. That's theviewfinderpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on X at ViewfinderPod, on Facebook at facebook.com/theviewfinderpodcast, and on Instagram at The Viewfinder Podcast. This has been The Viewfinder Podcast with Chris Hadley. This is Erik Woods speaking.